Hello everybody, Crow back again with our pickups video. I know it's only been 1 week since the last pickup video, and I typically, well, like years before, I used to do a pickup video week after week after week after week, but I kind of slowed down getting stuff in my collection and kind of spreading out these videos further and further apart just so I could put a little bit more work into it. But it kind of worked on getting that video out last week because I knew that I would be picking up a number of things this week. And right now I'm filming this on November 18th, the Wii U release date. Now, we did pick up a Wii U. However, we're not going to open it until Christmas because it's going to be a Christmas gift. So we picked up a Wii U, 3 games. We picked up Zombie U, New Super Mario Bros. Wii U, I think it's called. And a game I didn't even know was going to be on the Wii U until about a week ago, Tank Tank Tank. That's an awesome arcade game, and it's actually $10 cheaper than most Wii U games. So I had to pick that up. That is a fun game. But again, they're actually all wrapped right now. We're not going to open them until Christmas. Actually, went out today too, and I was going to mention one other thing. Time Machine. Yes. Last video he was talking a lot. I've lowered the voice as low as it'll go. I can still hear him, but I don't think it'll be as loud, so I'm going to ignore him for the rest of this video if he does happen to pipe up. But yeah, today I also went to Target, and they had a lot of Blu-rays on sale, and I wound up picking up 4 of them. First of which, let's go with, got Captain America on Blu-ray. This includes the DVD version as well. $13. So I'm not passing it up. It's an awesome movie. Again, another Marvel movie, Thor, $13 on Blu-ray. So was not passing that up as well. Comes with the DVD as well. We got this triple feature Blu-ray with Superman, Superman 2, the Richard Donner cut, and Superman Returns. $10. 3 movies for $10. And actually the first 2 Superman movies are really good, especially the Richard Donner cut. And actually I'm very unfamiliar with Superman Returns because I had the opportunity to watch that once and I was really tired when I did. So I wound up sleeping for most of the movie. So I'll get to see that as well. And one more Blu-ray, The Cabin in the Woods. One of the best movies I've seen this year, and I can't really talk about this movie without spoiling anything about it. So if you're a fan of horror movies, this is kind of a horror movie, and again, it's kind of not. It's kind of hard. If you watch the trailer, they're not going to reveal anything to you. It's a kind of movie you just kind of have to watch. Even if you're not a fan of horror movies, I would recommend seeing this movie because within the first 10 minutes, you'll find out that this isn't the typical horror movie. Again, Blu-ray, this was $8 at Target, so I was going to wait for it to come down in price. I had no idea I'd find it for so cheap so quickly after it was released. Cabin in the Woods, and it's got one of those weird covers. I wonder how the camera's picking that up. One of those covers that it changes. But yeah, there's that. Where should I go next? Well, I will say that last Sunday, which was November 11th, I posted my last video on November 10th. I got that out because November 11th happened to be my birthday. So I did get one game, well, technically one game I opened up, and it was one game I wanted. Need for Speed, what was it? Just says Need for Speed Most Wanted, and then it says a Criterion game. So this is, what this basically is, it's like, and when I found out who was making this, and I saw clips of the game, which you should be seeing now, basically what it is Burnout Paradise, slapped with a Need for Speed logo, but with cops too. And they happen to fix a lot of the things that people complained about with Burnout Paradise, and that is having to drive to each event individually every time you wanted to go there. And the way they fix that is the first time you go to an event, you still have to drive there. But from then on, if you want to redo it or something like that, you can just teleport right to the starting point. Also, there are the cars that you collect are scattered throughout the game, so you have to find them, their individual locations on the map. But once you find them, if you want to change cars, you can teleport right to that location. And it is a crazy game. The only disappointing thing I found with the game so far is that the wrecks don't seem to be as good as previous Burnout games. The thing that I kind of miss, but then again I kind of don't miss it, is every time you wreck somebody in previous Burnout games, the camera would swivel around and the camera would swivel around in slow motion, watch the other opponent's cars get destroyed, and then whip back to you and jump you back in the race. It doesn't do that in this one. In fact, your own wrecks don't really seem to be as spectacular as in previous games, but it's still a fun game, and it can get challenging at times. I do like the fact that when you do a race, you don't just select your vehicle. You have to play the races with the vehicles. Like you jump in a vehicle and you have a set number of races that you could do with that vehicle, and each one of those races earns you points for depending on what rank you're in, or if you get usually first or second, you get different modifications you could put on that car. So like in some instances, some of the races were just brutal. Some of the things were basically the races can be broken down into like one of three categories pretty much, and it's like just racing against other cars, trying to outrun the cops, or racing with cops. That's pretty much that's it. Usually the races can be with other opponent vehicles, or sometimes they're by yourself. What I found very difficult was trying to elude the cops, because once you happen to elude them, you have to stay out of their sights for so long. And there always just happens to be another cop in the vicinity that sees me and starts that pursuit all over again. And then you have to wait for your wanted meter to go down, to drive down. It's kind of like Grand Theft Auto, but you can't get out of the car. Well, you can change cars, and that's another way of eluding the police. If you're out of sight of the police, you can switch cars and kind of confuse them so they're not really looking for you. They're looking for this other car. Or also, if you're out of sight, there's these repair shops you can drive through, and they instantly fix and change the color of your car. And if a cop is not there in the vicinity, they'll lower your wanted meter. I guess it's a wanted meter of sorts, or heat index, because they're not looking for your car. But if you do it right in front of a cop, obviously you're going to see it. And I love the fact that there's like speed cameras littered throughout the game, and if there's just a cop sitting there and you're driving free roaming, you can free roam the world too. But if you happen to be speeding right by a cop, he'll start pursuing you right then and there. It's a very, very well done game, I think, and it's going to actually keep me entertained for some time to come. So here's some more footage of Need for Speed Most Wanted, aka Burnout Most Wanted.
Testing for testing. Free on the road. All units, watch the suspect and attempting to hit.
So on my birthday, I actually went out and had a nice lunch, and it happened to be around the area of video games, etc. So I had to go there. And this is where I actually picked up a new system that I didn't have. I don't even really know much about this system, but here it is. I got myself a Texas Instrument TI-99, and it works. What they did was funny is that they gave me, this thing, and I had this hooked up initially, and then I was like, I wonder if my Commodore 64 composite cables will work on this, and indeed it did. So we'll have to use this thing again. But so yeah, I got this. It was like $30, and so I did get 3 games with it, 2 games to be technically speaking. So if anybody really has any extra TI-99 games they're willing to sell or trade, I'll be all ears, because I'm going to be interested in picking up some, and I only have 3 cartridges for this right now. The cartridge that actually they gave this with is a game called Alpiner, and it's kind of a funny, I think it's a funny game where you're climbing a mountain. Oh, you know what? While that footage is playing, I haven't plugged in a controller. It uses those 9-pin controllers like the same as Atari and Genesis, but I don't know if they work or not. If anybody can give me any details on whether or not they do. Somebody on Facebook, I believe it was Sinister Moon, said that I would need some kind of adapter to get that to work, but I haven't even tried it without an adapter. Also, he was saying that Alpiner is only worth it if you have the voice synthesis module, and but I think it was hilarious anyway, because there was one point I was climbing the mountain and a skunk walked right by me and sprayed me in the face, and I just thought that was hilarious. But yeah, there's Alpiner. It's a, you know, I guess it's, I really don't know anything about the system or the games, so, you know, I played it for a little while. Here's some footage of it. The other game I got, and these were only a couple, the next two ones were only a couple bucks each. These were the only TI-99 games they had. This one is football. It's just simply football. And basically, it's kind of like, if you remember last week's video, I did that video for NFL Head Coach 09. This is the same thing. You pick the plays and let the people run them. That's really it. Just dots on the screen. I guess for the time it could have been really fun to play. I was basically in this footage just playing against myself. I'm not really sure what I was doing. Sometimes I thought I was picking a play, but I really wasn't. I don't know. It's kind of an interesting game. So, you know, football, a little bit of footage. And then finally, I was plugging this game in, trying to figure out what was going on, and the cats are fighting each other. Anyway, Adventure. You probably can't see the label. The label is really worn. I just picked it up because I thought it'd be an interesting, game. It was the only game they had. I wanted to get some cartridges. So those were three games. Were the only games they had. One of them actually came with the system. But the thing was, and you're only going to see the title screen up here, because this is actually kind of like a loader cart. This is like a hub for a bunch of other games that came on either cassette or diskette that you plugged into here. So you started this off with this, and then you had to load an adventure of sorts. And I looked it up. There's like, I can't remember how many, like 20 some odd adventures either you could get for cassette or floppy disk and connect it up here. So when it was asking me, he's like, "Where's your device?" Like, what device? Just play the game. But no, it didn't want to do that. So no footage of this because it's a text-based adventure game, so they're all text-based. But an interesting idea, I guess, to have the games, the adventures sold separately. I guess that this one, this cartridge actually came with an adventure, and then you're like, so kind of like primitive DLC, except not downloadable, purchasable of sorts. Like Test Drive 2, I know, like for the Commodore 64 and other games, you could buy bonus add-on discs, that kind of thing. But it's the same deal, except with a text adventure, so there's nothing really good there. Another game I can't show footage of is Battlezone for the Atari XE. And, well, here's what I did. I grabbed this cartridge, and I plugged it in, and nothing. It would just be blank. So, I was like, okay, it needs to be cleaned. So I went and I cleaned this cartridge, I popped it in, and the title screen came up. I was like, oh good, the cartridge works. So I went and I turned it off and I started my capture device, turned it on. I didn't even take the cartridge out and it wouldn't come up again. And I cleaned it again, I tried it and I just couldn't get it to work. And I tried it for like half an hour to get this cartridge to work again. I got it to work once, but it wouldn't work again. So I just gave up and I'm like, I'm gonna have to not be able to capture any footage for this. Really wish I did because I thought, this would have been really cool to see on the Atari XE. Actually, I was using my XEGS. I could try, I didn't feel like plugging in my Atari 400. Sometimes these games work on them and I don't know why. But I could have swore I tried like Hardball or Bug Hunt on it and it actually came up. So I might have to try this on another system to see if it's actually a cartridge. But I tried other games in my Atari XEGS, and it worked just. Everything else worked just fine. I have no idea what the deal with this cartridge. I mean, I cleaned this thing to hell, and I could not get it to work. So I'm gonna hold on to it. It was $3.99 anyway. So we'll see what I do with that. I also picked up a bunch of Commodore 64 cartridges, the first of which is a fast load cartridge, which somebody was telling me I needed to get in some of my Commodore 64 videos. And I was like, I don't have a fast load cartridge. Well, you know what? Found one. Epic's fast load cartridge for the Commodore 64. It was $3.99, so I was like, yeah, I kind of have to get that. Let's see how I should do an experiment to see how much faster a fast load cartridge actually works with certain games, because I do have a handful of disc-based games for the Commodore 64 I'd like to see. Next up, we got Jungle Hunt on the Commodore 64. This cartridge again was $3.99. It was a game I didn't have. And Jungle Hunt is a fun game. Interesting. Oh, you know what? While I'm playing footage, I must tell you that when I went to video games, etc., they had arcade games for sale. You know, I walked in there, I was like, they have arcade machines. They had 5 of them. Actually, only one of them had a price tag, but there was one of them, Burger Time. They had Burger Time. And I was like, I really want that game. I don't know, but they weren't selling 4 out of the 5 of them. And I was like, well, you know, when you'd sell, when you'd be selling them, and the owner wasn't there. It was just somebody else, you know, behind the counter. Like, well, you have to check back. But anyway, another reason I'm mentioning is because another one of the arcade games they had was Jungle King, which was before they changed the main character to resemble like an explorer rather than Tarzan because of copyright issues. But Jungle Hunt, it's a fun game until I get up to the 3rd stage, and then I have real problems with the rocks. It always takes me forever to get by those when you're running up the hill and those rocks come down. I'm really bad at that. But yeah, here's some footage of Jungle Hunt. Fun game. Next up, we got Robotron 2084 on the Commodore 64. When I saw that, I was like, holy crap, I gotta get this game. It's gonna be awesome on the Commodore 64. That's what I was thinking. $3.99. And sure enough, when I boot up the loader screen, I'm thinking, I wonder if it supports 2 joysticks. Yes, it supports 2 joysticks. Bad thing is, the game sucks on the Commodore 64. I was playing it. It's running real slow, and the sound effects are really bad. And I was really kind of disappointed in this port of the game. The Atari, the Atari computer, 8-bit computer version is so much better than this. This is just horrible. And here's some footage to prove how bad it is. Next up, I got Miss Pac-Man for the Commodore 64. Again, it was $3.99, and if I didn't mention it, Robotron was $3.99 as well. But this is a complete turnaround from Robotron 2084. This is actually a really, really good game on the Commodore 64. It really captures the feeling of the arcade version. The sound effects are there, you know, maybe a little bit off, but really not too much to notice. But it looks and plays great on the Commodore 64, and here you go. Next up, from Video Games Etc., I got a couple of Sega Master System games I didn't have. First of which was Casino Games, and this game just got it. It was $5.99. Comes complete with the cartridge and the manual. Everything's looking really good. But for a game called Casino Games, it really is a lack of casino games. When you play it, you have a selection of a couple card games, poker, blackjack, and baccarat, and then there's an option for slot machines, and then the third option is to play a pinball game, a casino-based themed pinball game, which really, when you play it, doesn't really seem casino themed. It's just at the backboard when they show you the whole machine, it says Casino Games. So it's kind of weird that in a game called Casino Games there'd be a pinball table in it. And it really doesn't play that well either. But, I did have some fun playing the poker, so there's that. And then if you're just bored, I guess you just play the slot machine, because there's really no skill involved in that. You're just pulling the handle, hoping you win. But the poker is okay. I didn't really play the blackjack or the baccarat. I'm not even sure how to play baccarat. So, yeah, there's some footage of Casino Games on a Sega Master System. And then next up for the Sega Master System, I picked up Columns. How I didn't have this game for the Sega Master System, I don't know, because it seemed like it would be a pretty common game for the Sega Master System. Actually, I paid a little bit more for this one. It was $11.99, but it did have the cartridge and the manual in great condition. And when I popped this in and played it, it occurred to me that I had played this before on the Game Gear. This is exactly the same as the Game Gear port of Columns. They've got the regular mode of Columns, and then you've got the Flash version. The Flash version is the one I played most, I believe, because actually in the footage I only played the regular version. The regular version has a tendency to put me to sleep, especially when you're first starting to play it, because it's slow. It's really slow, and I don't know. If you were to compare Tetris and Columns, Tetris by a long shot. You got to go with Tetris. Columns, I mean, there's a lot more, especially like in the Game Boy version, and even in the NES version of Tetris, the Nintendo version, and the Tengen version even actually has more options. There's not really that many options for Columns on the Master System. So here's some footage of Columns. Next up for the Genesis, picked up Castle of Illusion starring Mickey Mouse. Kind of surprised I didn't have this game. I think I might have had it at one point and then traded it a long time ago. But I knew I didn't have this. And then when we got home, my wife was looking at me like, before I mentioned it, it's got the great manual, great cartridge. And she was like saying, I didn't see you pick that up. I would have said that we had that. And I'm like, we don't have that. Oddly enough, I have Castle of Illusion on the Master System. I didn't have it for the Genesis, and this was $8.99, and it's a fun game. It's like the Master System version, which actually I'm more familiar with, except added levels and so on, so forth. The main plot is that Minnie Mouse is kidnapped by the witch Miserable, and Mickey goes through the Castle of Illusion's multiple levels to reach the end and defeat Miserable. And that's pretty much the game. So, here's some footage. picked up another Genesis game, and that is NBA Hang Time. Why did I pick this up? Well, I saw it and I didn't have it, and it was pretty much $2.99. And I do like, and this is kind of like the sequel to NBA Jam. Now, I know in the arcades they had NBA Jam, NBA Jam TE, and then all of a sudden they changed the name of it to NBA Hang Time, and I never understood why they did that. Maybe they were trying to make it seem newer, even though it really wasn't. Because, again, this is just NBA Jam with some additional features, I think. But yeah, it comes in one of those cardboard Genesis cases, one of the later releases, and we do have the cartridge and the manual there. All in great condition, and it's a fun game. What more can you want for 1 to 4 people? I wonder if this was even on the Super Nintendo. I think this would have had to have been on the Super Nintendo, but I know it would have been on the the PlayStation as well. I wonder what year this was released in.
Hello.
Genesis or Sega CD system, it says. Oh, anyway, here's some footage.
Incredible! Stars! From long range, stars! Spectacular!
Also, from Video Games Etc., I happened to actually pick up some portable games. First of which, when I saw this, I was like, this is the first game I saw there, and I was like, I'm gonna buy this. And that is, let me take it out of the case here, if you can tell what kind of game this is. And this is Neo Turf Masters for the Neo Geo Pocket Color. And a lot of people were telling me when I was doing some Neo Geo games, do Neo Turf Masters. I was like, I don't have that game. That game is very, very expensive. I'll probably never have that game unless I run across it at a flea market or Goodwill and somebody doesn't know how much it's worth or something. But this was $8, and I was like, I gotta get this for the Neo Geo Pocket Color. Because I heard it was also a good game on it, and I played a little bit. It's very intuitive. I didn't even look up the controls or anything like that, and I was doing halfway decent and everything. I think I even got like a birdie on the first hole, so without even really knowing what I was doing. But it's a fun game. It's good to have in your Neo Geo Pocket collection. So here's some footage. Next up, it has actually got a few Lynx games, Atari Lynx games, in the box, brand new sealed. Now I have opened these so I could play them and get some footage for them, but I only cut open the little flap at the top. First up, we have Hydra. Picked up Hydra. It looked like a Stun Runner or a Road Blasters. Yeah, Road Blasters would be more apt. Road Blasters type of game, but only on the water. And then it is. I got this package new for $4.99, and it's pretty fun. It's like it is like Road Blasters, but you're in a boat speeding away and stuff. Really didn't know quite how to do some stuff, who I was supposed to be shooting and who I was supposed to be, collecting power-ups. You have to collect the fuel to go along. It is pretty much exactly like Road Blasters on the water. It's a fun game. So, Hydra. Some footage right there. Also on the Lynx we have Shadow of the Beast, and picked that up for $6.99. I couldn't remember if people were saying that this game was bad or good on the Lynx, but regardless, I saw it, and I always liked the cover art on this game, and even the logo of the game is very well done. Shadow of the Beast. But yeah, it actually works pretty well on the Lynx. Graphically, it looks great. They put a little black outline around your character so you can see him a little bit better on the portable screen. Only problem I have is my Lynx. I have to work on my Lynx, and this will become apparent in the footage of a game I show later. But I have a hard time pushing up on my Lynx to get the character to move up. He rather does something different. So I've got to work on my Lynx, but that might show why my gameplay might be a little bit poor. I really didn't make it that far in the game. I'm really unsure of how to avoid things or attack things. If I'm remembering correctly, there was just a point in the game where I just always get hit in the game. So I don't know if it's just bad game design or more than likely I'm playing the game wrong. But here's some footage of Shadow of the Beast on the Lynx. Next up, we got Pinball Jam for the Lynx, and when I saw this and I saw Elvira on the cover, right here, I was like, I have to have this game, and it was fairly cheap, $5.99 in the box, sealed, brand new. Everything's in these games. I mean, I've opened them up. They've got the manuals, the catalogs, and the games themselves. But what's funny is like when I really couldn't tell from the back, but there's two tables in here based on real pinball machines. You've got Elvira and the Party Monsters, which actually came on Pinball Arcade not too long ago, and also Police Force, which is another real arcade machine that I would not have known it was real if it weren't for the Pinball Expo I went to in October, because I actually got to play that then too, and both of them are fun tables. Now the game itself, they're not really that great at accurately portraying those tables, because the ball physics are way out of whack from the real game, and some areas don't look anything like the real game. You can tell they tried to make them look realistic. I mean, they kind of adjusted some things to make the tables, fit onto the Lynx's screen. But there is speech, what I found was great too. Some of the speech. But yeah, it's actually, I'm glad I got this in my collection. This is a great one to have. It's not that fun. Fun wise, yeah, you're better off playing other games, I think. But for a pinball game on the Lynx, you really can't complain about it. So yeah, this Pinball Jam on the Lynx. Alright, the last Lynx game, and I had to get this just because of the name of it. It's Dirty Larry, Renegade Cop, kind of a parody of Dirty Harry, but it's basically just a side-scrolling shooter or whatever. Now this is actually the first game I recorded footage for the Lynx, and it's also where I discovered on my Lynx I had a hard time pushing up, because I was pushing up and nothing was really happening of sorts. And you have to push up to jump in this game to collect ammo and health. And first time I played it, I died right away. I was like, because I didn't think I could jump, and then I figured out my Lynx, is just that up button isn't really working that well. And instead of jumping, sometimes I'll duck, so I don't know what's going on. So I kind of was able to work around it, got him to jump a couple times to get the items I needed, but I do need to work on my Lynx to make that work a little bit better. What I thought was hilarious is there's like tons of parodies from other things in this game, especially like when you're in the second level and there's these baseball guys with very tall baseball guys wearing baseball uniforms with white face, obviously from the Warriors. I can't remember the Furies. I think that was the name of the gang. That gang all were baseball uniforms with bats and stuff like that. But there are other parodies in there, and it's kind of weird. You walk around shooting people, punching people when you don't have any bullets. But yeah, I actually made it to the second level once I figured out my button wasn't working. But again, here's some footage of that. Well, that was everything from video games, etc. Now, my wife had made a trip to a place called Savers, and if you watch like Sandom Todd, he goes to a place called Vintage Village, I believe. And in this area, I believe those kind of stores are now called Savers. They came into the area maybe a few years ago, maybe 3-4 years ago. 3 years ago, I'm going to say 3 years ago. And I had no idea what kind of store it was when they first started showing up. And then we walked in there. I was like, oh, this is like a Goodwill of sorts, except it's called Savers. Anyway, she picked up a couple games when she stopped in there at one time. First game she picked up is George Foreman's KO Boxing, and this was $1.99. I played this, and honestly, this game is horrible. This game tries to be like Punch-Out, but fails miserably at it. I could not beat the first boxer. I really couldn't, and I played it like 3 times. Managed to knock him down once. The problem is that the boxers don't seem to telegraph their moves very well. They just start punching, and I'm punching, and I'm button mashing, and the other guy seems to be button mashing too. There were a couple times where he'll jump back and try to attack me, and when he does that, I can dodge and counter. But most of the time, he had this spin punch that lasted like a fraction of a second. He'd be like, and just knock the hell out of me and take away a ton of my damage. And this is the first guy. And anyway, there's some footage of it. And at the end of this video, I'm going to show this game had one of the most bizarre things I've seen in the game. And at the end of this video, I'm going to show that. So stay tuned for that if you happen to make it this far. Another game she picked up at Savers, Tarzan, based off the Disney movie. Now, I've never seen Tarzan. She got this for $1.99. Now, I've never seen the Disney Tarzan movie, but this game plays like a a pseudo 3D perspective, but a side scroller. So everything's got polygon graphics, but you're still stuck to that 2D track. And even when you change courses or whatever like that, it got to be really confusing where I was going at times. And I was kind of hoping to play this game as adult Tarzan, but when you first started playing out, you play as kid Tarzan. I don't know how much it plays into the movie or not, but at least the first 3 levels, you're playing as kid Tarzan. And I wound up dying on the 3rd level. I was like, screw it, I'm not going to keep going to see how long it takes to play adult Tarzan, but I guess it could be fun. A lot of these pictures on the back are showing like adult Tarzan, so I don't know. I just couldn't get that far into the game, I guess, before I was like recording footage for like 40 minutes of this, and I was still kid Tarzan. I'm like, what is going on? Anyway, here's some footage of Tarzan. All right, still from Savers, picked up Geon Cube, and I can't exactly remember how much you paid for this because this was either sealed or resealed. I think it was sealed, but I had to take the wrapper off to play it. And here's what I keep thinking. I've seen this game before, and I keep thinking of a game called Geom Cube on the PlayStation. And what that was kind of like a 3D Tetris where you're dropping pieces into a well. And this game is nothing like that. This game has you playing a cube, running around a panel, trying to collect dots. Once you get enough dots, you flip over to the other side and go to the middle. Now the thing is, though, you have an opponent doing exactly the same thing on the other side of the panel. So when they collect enough dots, and it's a race to who can collect the dots and to meet their quota and get over to the other side and hit the middle first. But you can attack the other character with different abilities, like if they're on the bottom, you slam them on the top, they'll lose some. Also, like if they flip over to the other side, you can somehow attack them and make them lose and go back to the other side and recollect them. I really couldn't figure out how to do a lot of that stuff in the game, but it seems interesting if this was a budget title. I mean, this is a budget title. This is not a full-fledged current gen system game by any stretch of the imagination. It just seems very simplified. The kind of game you'd purchase for $1 or $2 on an app store for your iPhone or Android device or a tablet or something like that. This really doesn't really seem like a full-fledged game, but here's some footage of that. Finally, on the Wii, my wife picked up Wii Party for $6.99. Now, this actually was pretty interesting. The Wii actually has a bunch of games by Nintendo that start with like Wii something. So there's like Wii Sports, Wii Play, Wii Music, I think was one of them. This is Wii Party. This is a collection of games to be meant to be played in a party environment. Now, Mario Party, this has got nothing on Mario Party. There is like a board game that you can play, but there's only one board game. It's played slightly differently than like a Mario Party game. The goal is to start at the beginning, get to the end, and there's different squares, and every turn starts with a big mini game, and if you win the mini game, you get to roll an extra dice or something like that, or if you come in second and third, you get to roll another dice, but it's not worth as many space moves as the other one, and it takes a while. But then there's other games as well, and you could play the same mini game. There's also these mini games that keep popping up throughout the different games. It's funny, the host of the game on the whole game, the whole series of games, he looks like a Muppet, and he's got the weirdest talking. He sounds like one of those Muppets that can't speak English. Yeah, it's hilarious. I thought it was hilarious. But anyway, here's some footage of Wii Party. And that's pretty much it for this video. Now, as promised, here's that really, really strange sequence that appeared on the George Foreman KO boxing for the NES. And I'm going to just leave the video with that. Thanks for watching. See you all next time. Bye.